I thought being talented enough was enough. It turns out mindset is what separates struggling hobbyists from thriving CEOs. Once I made these shifts in my mind, I was able to make everything change. I could build a business, not just a job. And I know you can too. Welcome to the Hobby to Profitability podcast. We're all about figuring out what it really takes to build a successful and thriving business. I'm Jacqueline Green, marketing nerd, AI consultant, and entrepreneur who's been through it all. My goal is to help you get the strategies, the tools, and the mindset shift you need to grow your business without the stress and confusion. Every week, we'll dive into real, unfiltered side of entrepreneurship, the mindset shifts, the strategic moves, and the unexpected lessons that come with building a business. We'll talk about what actually works and what doesn't, how to navigate those changes and challenges that you face, and how to create a business that really fits into your life. If you're ready to turn your passion into profit without the overwhelm, you're in the right place. I remember when I first started out, I was happy just to be making money. I would do work for people that either discounted my value or just wasn't the right project for me. Basically, anybody that came through the doors, I wanted to do work for because I had this mindset of fear, this scarcity mindset where if I couldn't turn down any work, I needed that money. I needed to pay the bills. And so if you have that mindset, this episode's going to be a good one for you. So today we're going to be talking about the number one mindset shift that will change how you make decisions. And we're really going to get into this moving from just a job into really creating a business. The next thing is how we start thinking like a CEO over just an employee. And then the last, we're going to talk about the one simple strategy that I use to stop undercharging and really start owning what I'm worth. So if this sounds like if you're stuck in just creating that job for yourself or the hobby stage, what I like to call, you work hard, you make some money, but not enough money, and not making the impact that you want to, this episode is really for you. And so today, I'm going to share with you my mindset tricks. Now, the first mindset shift that I had to make was making money versus building a business. This is a big difference. So many years ago, I left my corporate job and I started a marketing consultant business. I essentially was a freelancer. And so what I did was when I left, I had one client. It was a friend of mine who said, yeah, I can throw some work your way. And then I was able to gain another client and work, that I started a project with them. And I had quite a few different projects along the way from different channels. Those two were my primary clients, though. They took up most of my time. The problem was that if I wasn't working, then I wasn't making money. And at times it became so overwhelming to me to make money and for my family and for all the things that I needed to pay for. At that time, I had one young child in elementary school and one in high school playing competitive sports. And so it was really important that I generate that income. What I missed was that opportunity to really build a business, to build something that worked while I wasn't working, to build something that could continue generating revenue while I was on vacation, while I was at a baseball game, while I was sleeping. That was a really important mind shift. So when I started behind the design, that was one of the things. Yes, I started out as a solopreneur and has since hired, but at first I really wanted to be able to build something beyond me, something that I can leave as a legacy to my children or to be sold and that money be my legacy. I wanted to build a $10 million business. To this day, fast forward, that is still my goal. I want to build a $10 million business. And so when I start changing my mindset and thinking it isn't about just making money, it's how do you build a business? How do you build a business that really generates wealth? And so the things that I started looking at is, one, I had to start really tracking what was working and what wasn't working. I had to be honest with myself and say, hey, I really like doing this. For instance, I absolutely love writing blogs. I enjoy writing blogs. Blogs are not generating the revenue or the wealth that I need. And so that was something that I had to hand off to somebody else and say, hey, do I still write blogs? Yeah, I do for fun, but it's not a primary focus as CEO. That is something that someone else can do within my business. I started looking at the revenue and the profits, not just top revenue, but really what are the profits afterwards. So the profits being after you have your revenue, after I pay employees, after I pay for all the systems, all the software we use, pay for any other fees, keeping the lights on, the internet, pens, paper, whatever. After I pay for all that, what is left over? After I pay my salary, what is left over? That is the profit of the business. And that was a really important thing that I had to track. So many times businesses start and they grow. And yes, it looks like they're making revenue, but they're not necessarily making a profit. So I had to start tracking that as well. I also had to look at customer acquisition cost. What was it costing me to gain a client? If you're doing Google ads and you have a response rate, let's say 10%, and of that 10%, you're selling 1%, you can actually calculate then how much it's going to take to acquire a customer and what that value of that customer is and what those costs were. Now, that's just one example. And Google Ads is something that's kind of easy to be able to put those numbers to. Same with if you're doing social media ads, but your organic social, not easy. Absolutely not easy. You have to look at what does it take for me to put this output out? What is the response or engagement rate that I'm getting? And how many of those are actually converting into sales? And then from the sales, what are we making profit-wise? When you start backing out that information, it's really eye-opening to know, wait a minute, is this really working? And should I be spending so much time there? These were decisions that I had to shift my mind from, of just making money for this month versus how we're going to build this business and what strategies are working to really build that profit. Let's be real. Random marketing tactics aren't going to grow your business. It's like throwing spaghetti at a wall, hoping the spaghetti will stick. If you're tired of spinning your wheels, or in this case, throwing spaghetti, then it's time to take a smarter approach. The Marketing Momentum Workshop is built for small business owners just like you who need real results, not just more marketing noise. In one 4-hour session, we will work with you to pinpoint the best strategies and create a roadmap for your business that's going to help it grow. Take the first step. Book your free marketing health check now at behindthedesignco.com, and let's get your business moving in the right direction. Now, the next shift that I had to make was around pricing emotionally versus pricing strategically. Pricing is a huge thing for solopreneurs. We all struggled with this. So if you're struggling with how do I price my services or my products, trust me, you're not alone. The pricing is really when you're working as a solopreneur or you're first getting started and you've just created this job, your pricing, you think it's an emotional thing. You're like, well, it's going to take me about this many hours and they really can't afford that, but maybe I'll back it out. And that is the wrong way to think about it. One, we want to be able to price based on the value we offer, not hourly. And so for a lot of our clients, we think, or a lot of even some of the students that come through my program, they ask, well, how do I price my services per hour? You don't necessarily want to price it per hour, but you have to think about it a little bit that way, but you have to take the emotion out. What is that value that you are giving your clients? And then what is that value worth to them? Now, they may say, well, we can only afford this. And you may decide, hey, I'll do this first project for this. And if you find value, then we'll up it to this. You can do things like that, but you have to think strategically on your pricing. You have to take into consideration what it costs for you to keep, again, the lights on, the internet going, the software that you purchase. All those things are really important. How much is it going to cost for me to hire someone to help me? Whether that be a VA, a contractor, or whether that be a full-time employee, you have to look at that and calculate all that information. And so real CEOs do not price based on any emotional or based on fear. They price based on the value that you're giving your client. And that's a really important part. That twist in your mind of saying, okay, what value am I bringing to this client? And if you can say, well, I don't really see any value, then you're probably not, this isn't the project for you. You have to add value to be paid for that value. And you need to understand what that's worth. You can also create what's called a value ladder, which is a strategy where you can actually look at businesses and price based on the business size or the project size or the project type. So for instance, you see this a lot in software. And you can use the same, even if you offer a service, you can definitely use this same concept or the same strategies where the basic package might be, $14.99 a month versus the package that you want people to buy might be $29.99 a month. Now, I'm just using, general things like for software. And then you might have a higher package of $59.99 for this package. Now, those prices are really low, and I'm using it as a software example. But what does that look like? You can add a value ladder and put that based on projects, based on the type, size, whatever that is. And so if you know what those pricing look like and what your ideal client looks like and the value that you bring, you're better suited to be able to price your products accordingly. Now, you need to be really careful, though. You have to keep in mind that you are paying for things other than just your services. When we sit there and say, well, you're an hourly rate, there's so much more that goes into running a business that I think often is forgotten when you're first starting out or you're a solopreneur. How much does that software cost you per month? How much does it cost you to market? How much does it cost you to do sales and fulfillment? You have to look at those as well. And if you are doing those currently and you want to hire someone, what is the cost of hiring someone? What is their hourly rate or salary? What are the benefits that you're going to offer them? Are you going to give them health care? So when you think about pricing, what's it going to cost to hire your replacement? That will help you also determine the price. Okay, my third mindset shift that I had to make, that's really hard to say, mindset shift. Anyway, my third mindset shift that I had to make was doing it all versus leveraging systems and delegating. This is a huge thing that I think every business owner struggles with at some point within their career. It is really easy to think that, hey, I know how to do this. I do it better. It's going to take me longer to teach somebody else, so I might as well do it. And that is the absolute worst way to run your business. Your job as a leader, as a CEO of that company, is to teach and train your employees how to do it the way that it needs to be done. Now, that does not mean they're going to do it perfect. It does not mean they're going to do it the way that you want it to be done, but it could be done good enough. And good enough sometimes is better than none. The best way to be able to do this is by leveraging systems and delegation. It's identifying what is working, what you truly need to be touching and not touching. Here's what I recommend. Pull a piece of paper out and for 2 weeks, track every single thing you do. Every single thing. Whether it's building a social media post or creating a social media post, responding to emails, setting up a meeting, do every single little thing and what it takes. You're going to have different columns on this sheet of paper. The first column, and I'll tell you exactly how I did this. The first column is, of course, your time. You're going to track what it takes and how long it took you to do this. The next thing you're going to do is the tasks. What tasks did you do during this time and describe that? You're going to talk about the category. What is this? Is it sales and marketing? Is this an administrative task? Is this a fulfillment task? Is this operational? You need to add, what is the category here? Where does this fall into operating this business? The time spent, of course. And then, is this something that you can delegate? And this is where that emotional gets in the way sometimes. We often think that we're the only one who can do these things. It's our knowledge, it's our strategy, it's our ideas. But the number one thing about being a CEO is that you have to get out of that mindset of you have to do it. You have to let go, and you have to let go of some things that you actually might really enjoy doing. For me, writing blog or writing content, I really enjoy that. But that wasn't the best use of my time as CEO. I need to be thinking higher level. I need to be strategizing and figuring out where this business is going and how we're going to get there. Writing a blog post is not that thing that's going to get me to that next level, to that $10 million mark. And so I really had to be honest with myself and say, I have to let this go. And so when we write that down, the last column, besides the delegate, yes or no, is next steps. So this could be something like you keep, you automate, you delegate, or you eliminate. So let me say that again. You keep it, you automate it, you delegate it, or you eliminate it. I guarantee when you start looking at everything you do on a regular basis, and I am telling you, you need to write down every single little thing. There are going to be things that come out that you're going to go, well, that's ridiculous. As CEO, why am I doing that? And you have to think that even if you're a solopreneur, you're still CEO of your business, and you need to control the CEO. So if you make this for 2 weeks and say, hey, I really need help with my email, there are 2 things you can do. You can hire a VA, and if you can't afford a VA, there are email AI services that will help you manage your email. So those are 2 things that you could either delegate or automate. And so it's really important that we look at things and have an honest perspective on is this moving the business forward, and is my time well spent in moving the business forward? So a summary of what we talked about today. There are 3 mindset shifts that are really important for moving from the hobbyist or just creating a job for yourself to moving into that CEO role. Okay, there are 3 things we talked about today. The move from that hobbyist or that job you created when you went out on your own to actually being CEO of your business. 1, we stop chasing sales and we start building a business. We stop underpricing and we start pricing based on our value, not our fear. And then the third thing is stop doing everything. Leverage systems and delegate. Mindset is what separates hobbyists from CEOs. If you're interested in diving into the automation part of it, the next episode is definitely for you. You want to stay tuned because this one we're going to talk about beyond ChatGPT, and we're going to talk about AI tools small businesses should be using right now. And that's that automation part. Systems are a huge part of building a business, and we're going to talk about how AI can help. Now, I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for listening to the Hobby to Profitability podcast with Jacqueline Green. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend. You can learn more about Behind the Design at our website at behindthedesign.co.com, and be sure to connect with me on LinkedIn or subscribe to the Behind the Design channel on YouTube for more great business growth strategies. Now, I'll see you next time.